everyone, this is Dr. Liv with New Insight, and thank you so much for joining me in another video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and join the New Insight community for daily clinical and practical content to improve your mental health, healing, self-growth, and relationships. In part 1, I discussed 2 symptoms that create mental exhaustion in those diagnosed with ADHD. In this video, I will now discuss helpful tips and coping strategies to effectively manage and alleviate these symptoms. So first, let's talk about hyperfixation. Many people tend to think ADHD only means difficulty focusing, when in reality, people diagnosed with ADHD can also focus too much, which is known as hyperfixation, especially on things tied to fear, pressure, perfectionism, anxiety, or emotional attachment. The person may spend excessive time replaying conversations, overanalyzing details, researching something for hours, trying to make something perfect, or getting stuck on one task so long that they ignore everything else around them. And while hyperfocus can sometimes increase productivity, it can also create anxiety, avoidance, burnout, procrastination, and mental exhaustion. So one important coping skill is learning how to interrupt the hyperfixation cycle. One way to do this is by setting limits before starting a task. For example, set a timer for 20 or 30 minutes. When the timer goes off, pause and ask yourself, am I still being productive or am I overthinking now? Because many times the brain shifts from productive focus into perfectionism and anxiety without the person realizing it. A second helpful skill is practicing good enough thinking. Many people with ADHD struggle because they feel pressure to do things perfectly in order to avoid criticism, mistakes, or rejection. But perfectionism often delays completion. So instead of asking, how can I do this perfectly? Ask, what is realistic, healthy, and good enough for right now? And this is not about slacking or underperforming. And if your brain tries to tell you it is, suspend this faulty thinking. A third important skill is learning to zoom out. So when you notice yourself spiraling into details, pause and ask, will this specific detail truly matter long term? And am I solving the problem or feeding anxiety? Many people don't realize they've been hyper-focused for hours until they feel mentally drained, tense, dehydrated, or exhausted. A third skill is to schedule intentional interruptions. Stand up, stretch, walk around, drink water, shift your environment. Physical movement helps to break mental looping. And a fifth skill is to learn to separate your worth from your performance. Many people with ADHD hyperfixate because they fear making mistakes, disappointing others, being misunderstood, or being judged in a negative way. But your value is not determined by how perfectly you perform a task. Sometimes completing the task imperfectly is healthier than emotionally exhausting yourself trying to make everything flawless. Now, let's discuss coping tips for time blindness. Many people with ADHD struggle with internal time awareness. To address this, it is essential to make time more visual and more external. For example, use timers while getting ready. Set multiple alarms instead of just one. Use countdowns for important tasks or appointments. Schedule reminders earlier than you actually need to leave. And try time blocking your day so that responsibilities feel more structured and easier to follow. Another helpful strategy is learning to transition earlier. Many people with ADHD wait until the exact moment they need to leave or switch tasks. But because the brain often underestimates time, even small distractions can quickly make them late. So instead of saying, I need to leave at 3 o'clock, Train yourself to mentally prepare earlier. Finish getting ready by 2:30. Gather everything you need by 2:40. Be near the door by 2:45. Creating buffer time reduces stress, rushing, forgetfulness, and overwhelm. And instead of relying on memory alone, write things down immediately. Use notes, apps, calendars, visual schedules, and reminders. Because with ADHD, out of sight can quickly become out of mind. Now that I've discussed tips for hyperfixation and time blindness, let's discuss other effective coping skills for managing ADHD symptoms. Because ADHD affects executive functioning, the person struggles with planning, organization, prioritizing, memory, and follow through. And one of the biggest mistakes people make, regardless of whether they have ADHD or not, is relying solely on motivation before attending to their task. So instead of waiting to feel motivated, create symptoms that reduce mental overload. For example, use visual reminders, calendars, sticky notes, phone alarms, timers, and checklists. Instead of setting the goal to be try harder, set the goal to be making tasks easier for your brain to manage. Another helpful strategy is breaking larger tasks into smaller ones. Many people with ADHD become overwhelmed because the brain sees the entire task at once. So instead of saying, I need to clean the house, break it down into pick clothes up off the floor, wash dishes, take trash out. Small steps reduce overwhelm and make it easier to get started. Another important coping skill is learning not to depend on pressure and panic as motivation. Many people with ADHD unintentionally wait until the last minute because urgency creates adrenaline and temporary focus, but constantly functioning in survival mode also increases stress, anxiety, and burnout. Instead, try using structure before the pressure hits. Set smaller deadlines for yourself. Use timers to create focus periods. Even working on something for just 10 to 15 minutes can help build momentum. A key note to understand is that those diagnosed with ADHD often struggle with transitions, such as starting tasks, stopping tasks, and switching between tasks. That's why routines can be extremely helpful. The more consistent something becomes, the less mental energy the brain has to use deciding what to do next. Now let's talk about emotional regulation with ADHD, because rejection sensitivity can make criticism feel extremely personal and painful. So it's important to slow down before reacting. Ask yourself, am I responding to the actual situation or to the fear of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood? Practicing self-awareness can help reduce emotional impulsivity. And finally, stop measuring yourself against people whose brain works differently than yours. ADHD does not mean you are lazy, irresponsible, immature, or incapable. It means your brain may require different strategies, more structure, more visual support, more breaks, and more self-compassion. And once people stop fighting against how their brain functions, they often begin functioning more effectively. So if you struggle with ADHD symptoms, give yourself grace. Your brain is not broken. You simply need different tools, different structure, and different support. Progress does not come from perfection. It comes from learning how to work with your brain instead of constantly fighting against it. And the more self-awareness, structure, compassion, and intentional efforts you build, the easier it becomes to cope, function, and thrive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.